In this lecture, we will dive deeper into REST APIs and understand REST architecture style constraints along with the essential components of a REST API. So let's get started. A REST API uses the REST architectural style to exchange data between clients and servers. REST stands for Representational State Transfer, and web services that adhere to the REST style must satisfy a set of constraints. The first constraint is client-server, separation of user interface and data storage components. The second constraint is stateless. The client maintains the state information and each request contains the data needed for the server to respond. The third constraint that the REST architecture style must fulfill is cacheable. Clients and intermediaries may cache responses to improve scalability and performance. The fourth constraint is layered system. Proxies and other intermediaries may transparently assist the server with processing a client request to improve scalability. And the last constraint is uniform interface. For web services, a URI describes the resource and HTTP methods to describe the request. Let's understand this with the help of a diagram. A REST API essentially acts as a message carrier from one application to another. The calling application is considered as client, and the application which exposes the REST API is considered as server. The client sends a request message to server which contains information about the data being requested or the actions to be performed in a structured way. Server receives the request, validates it against authentication, authorization, and other data consistency rules, processes the request, and returns a response message which contains the requested data, usually in a JSON format, along with some other information regarding the result of the request or error if any error has occurred. A REST message request contains these components: resource path, the path to the resource, object to be acted upon; HTTP verb, the verb defines the action to take regarding the resource. Commonly used HTTP verbs include post, which creates a resource; get, which retrieves one or more resources; put, which updates a resource; and delete, which deletes a resource. Request body. A post or put request has a body. A GET request has no body. REST uses JSON, JavaScript object notation as its content format. The request body is sometimes also known as request payload. Request headers. Request headers is a collection of fields and their associated values that provide information about the message to the receiver. Think of it as metadata about the message. The header may also contain authentication information. A REST message response contains these components. Content types. In responses, a content type header tells the client what the content type of the returned content actually is. Response codes. Each response from a request to a REST operation contains an HTTP status code that relays the status of your request. Response body. Like the request body, all successful responses from a call to a REST operation may contain response body where applicable. Response headers. The response from each call to a REST operation contains a set of HTTP headers which provide metadata about the message being sent to the receiver. This was an overview of how REST APIs work and introduction to different components of a request and response message. We will explore these components in more detail using Postman in the next sections of the course. Happy learning!